Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. Today is Thursday, December 7th. We've got UFC Fight Night 123 coming up this weekend in Fresno, California, and we are going to analyze this card from a betting and odds perspective with our regular guest, MMA and boxing odds expert analyst, Andreas Hale. Andreas Hale, thanks for being with us once again. We got 4 fights on the main card here with very competitive odds, and then 2 other fights with a big favorite involved.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting card. I mean, not as stacked as last week's card, but I think we have some value here.
Yeah, I'm not used to seeing quite so many fights on a main card with odds so close to a coin flip. So maybe that's a good thing. Let's start with one of them, which is the main event: Ortega against Swanson. Swanson obviously is a longtime top contender, but we know that he's frustrated that he didn't get a title shot, and so now he has to quote unquote settle for fighting Brian Ortega. So I'm not sure that puts him in a good mental state heading into this fight. And of course, Ortega is definitely tough, maybe even a little bit underrated and undervalued. And he's actually been taking money. If Ortega had been a small underdog, I definitely would be all over Ortega here, but he's actually now a slight favorite. He's minus 120 right now at 5 dimes. Swanson on the other side has now become the underdog at plus 100. I kind of like Ortega's chances here, but I'm not quite sure that he should be the favorite. What do you think, Andreas?
I don't think he should be the favorite. The biggest difference here is experience. Cub Swanson's obviously been in there with top guys and has showcased his ability against top elite competition. Ortega, on the other hand, great jiu-jitsu practitioner, but he hasn't been in there with a fully capable striker like a Cub Swanson, and he hasn't faced the top-tier guys in the featherweight division. That being said, that's why I would think that Ortega would have remained the underdog, and maybe I would have liked him there. But Swanson is the underdog I really do like. I think Ortega might have a hell of a time in a 5-round fight against a guy who is a seasoned veteran, who's been in wars, has proven to be durable.
Yeah, I mean, Ortega's clearly improving, a guy on the rise, so I don't really like to bet against a guy like that, but I think I kind of agree with you. I can't quite take him at minus 120, and then I was thinking about maybe a shot with the over. Now, the over 2.5 rounds is minus 230, which, of course, can be a very treacherous thing to do, to take totals as a big favorite like that. But, I know Ortega has gotten finishes, but they all came in the 3rd round, and now he's stepping up in competition, so presumably it'll be harder for him to get an early stoppage here. Swanson's fights tend to go the distance, so I'm thinking maybe even at minus 230 the over might be a good play, or do you think that's too much to be paying for 2.5 rounds?
It might be too much to be paying for, but you're right on track here. I mean, Ortega's a guy who takes guys deep and finishes them late. Cub Swanson has proven to be durable, finishes guys late, or he gets finished late. Either way, it usually goes over 2.5 rounds. But at this line, I'd be a little bit skeptical because I think Cub has a lot to prove there, and it could be in his favor. He could take Ortega out early, or he could make a huge mistake and get submitted early. So I'd probably stay away from that.
All right, yeah. Well, I'll think about that for a second. Do you want to go right now, go official on either a side or a total on that one?
I'm going to go official with Cub Swanson. I just think he's got too much experience. He's a hell of a striker, and I don't think Ortega's seen anything like him. So with Swanson being the underdog, I'm going to go ahead and take him here.
All right, plus 100 is the current line at 5 dimes. Andreas Hale going official with Cub Swanson at plus 100 over Ortega. Interesting. Next fight on the card is one of the big favorites. It's a Jason Knight, of course, a pressure fighter, always action-packed, going up against Gabriel Benitez, who's a youngster left-hander, a southpaw. Might give Knight some problems here. So I'm not exactly sure I'd want to take Knight at minus 320, even though he's a fearsome fighter, and maybe similar to the Gaethje fight that we saw on the last UFC event. Maybe we bet that this fight just doesn't go the distance, that probably Knight ends it inside the distance, but that if he loses, it's because he gets finished. What do you think about just betting on this fight not going the distance at minus 115? And what's your take on Knight at this big of a favorite, minus 320? Benitez on the other side, plus 260.
It's tough. I mean, Jason Knight's a huge favorite here. He just came off of a loss. I know he's a rising star and everything, but he's just a little bit too big of a favorite for my liking against a guy who was pretty solid. He beat Sam Sicilia. So Benitez, I mean, he's a solid fighter. I have to stay away from this. I like Jason Knight, but I don't like him this much with this line. But I do like the under, though. I think somebody is going to get finished just based off of Jason Knight's style. He kind of is a balls-to-the-wall type of fighter who tries to finish his opponent or gets finished. So I think one of the two is going to happen here. Somebody's going down inside of this inside the distance here.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. The under 2.5 rounds is plus 115, and the fight not going to distance is minus 115. I might make that one an official pick as well, because Knight, we know what he likes to do, pressures, and usually it's successful for him. But if it's not, he does take a good amount of punishment, so he could get caught. Now let's move on to the next fight, which is Aljamain Sterling against Marlon Moraes, and this is another very interesting fight. Moraes, of course, is taking this one up on late notice, and this is a very competitive fight. Both of these fighters are pretty impressive. Not totally sure why Sterling should be a significant underdog here. A few days ago, he was plus 140, and I wanted to give that one. Now it's gotten bet down. It's down to plus 120, and Moraes on the other side is minus 140. And the total, it's scheduled for 3 rounds. The total has gotten bet way up. A few days ago, the over 2.5 rounds was minus 255. It's now all the way up to minus 300. The under's 2.5 at plus 250. I'm thinking about giving Sterling even at plus 120, or do you think that he's going to be legitimately overmatched here and should be a bigger underdog?
No, I don't. The thing about Aljamain Sterling, I mean, he beat Renan Barão. Granted, Renan Barão's not the same as he used to be. They both have losses to Rafael Assunção. The thing about Sterling, he's got an excellent ground game, and he's a fully capable striker who's still improving. Marlon Moraes is a guy from World Series of Fighting who was a former champion who ran roughshod over there, but since coming to the UFC, he hasn't looked quite as impressive. So I expect him and Sterling to go the distance. But I'm not too sure on a short notice, because I don't think that means that Moraes didn't even have a full camp. This is less than 30 days. So I'm not too sure about his cardio. And I think that if Aljamain Sterling can get this fight to the mat, he's got a great chance of winning this fight. So I think Sterling, it should have been a little bit closer to even. I like Sterling here, and I'm going to pick Sterling. It's probably going to go the distance, but I'm going to stay away from that line because there's just not enough value there.
Yeah, it's Sterling to win is plus 120. Sterling by decision, which was the other pick that I was thinking of giving, is plus 204. I think if he gets it to the mat, we could see a finish by Sterling, right?
We could. Marlon Moraes is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He's not as great as a grappler as Aljamain Sterling. Sterling is pretty crafty with his submissions. But I think, Moraes will do enough to stay out of a submission. So I like Sterling by decision here. I don't necessarily see him finishing Moraes off. Moraes is a very good, very capable fighter who hasn't lost in many years. So I like Sterling by decision. I'm going to go with that for my lock. All
right. That's an official pick there?
That is an official pick.
All right. I was thinking about giving that one as well, going back and forth between giving that one and just Sterling to win. And I will actually just take Sterling to win at plus 120, just because anything can really happen. And with this total going so high now, I'm not sure that there's any value there. So I'm going to take Sterling to win at plus 120. Andreas Hale, go a little ballsy, stepping out with a Sterling by decision at plus 204. All right. So we're in agreement on that one. That's nice to hear. Then we have another fight that's very interesting. Lightweights, kind of at the back end of the lightweight rankings. Holtzman against Horcher, and this is an interesting one because Holtzman is a guy who is a well-rounded fighter, a guy who I feel like we know what we're going to get from him, and he's definitely good but not great. Horcher, it's more unknown, it's more uncertain where exactly his ceiling is, and of course Horcher came in and in his first UFC fight and took a loss against Nurmagomedov, which was kind of a ballsy thing for him to do and a forgivable loss. And then he came back and got a win on the next one in his next fight. So not sure that we know exactly what we're going to get from Horcher, but definitely the market has been betting Holtzman at least a little bit. Holtzman's now minus 120. Horcher on the other side plus 100. The big question here, I guess, is where would you rate Horcher here relative to a guy like Holtzman, where we know what his skill set is and we know what to expect from him approximately?
I think this line is pretty accurate. I mean, I think we haven't seen enough out of Horcher to make a difference. I mean, yeah, Khabib Nurmagomedov, we can't take anything away from that because Khabib pretty much wipes out everybody he faces. The Devin Powell fight, we don't know much about Devin Powell, so it's hard to even take anything away from that. So we don't really know what we're going to get out of these two fighters. I mean, I expect the line to look like this. I see this fight probably going the distance, but again, you never really know. So this is a fight I'm just going to steer clear from.
Yeah, Holtzman did look kind of sharp in his last fight. I was thinking also about taking this one on, the fight going the distance, but I don't know if I want to lay minus 225 or Horcher by decision at plus 204. Obviously, this fight is very likely to go the distance. Do you think there's value at bet taking it at minus 225, or you think that's too much to pay?
It's too much. I mean, Horcher, he kind of finishes or gets finished, so I'd probably stay away from that. It's a little bit too much here. So this fight, totally, I'm just going to watch it. I can't bet it.
Okay, then the next fight on the main card is another fight with a big favorite. It's Eric Anders against Marcus Perez. Perez is taking this one on late notice, but we have seen these late notice guys a lot of times come in as a big underdog and surprise. And Anders is a very impressive fighter, but I feel like both these guys are young and obviously they're both undefeated. So there's a lot of sort of unknowns and uncertainty heading into this fight in a positive sense for both of these guys. So I'm thinking maybe a shot with Perez at plus 240. Might be warranted here. Anders, nothing to take away from him, but at minus 280, maybe the market's giving him a little bit too much credit or not?
No, I think it is giving him a little bit too much here. I mean, his biggest win against Rafael Natal, which is solid, but I mean, it doesn't make you a world beater. So looking at that, I think the line's a little wide here for two undefeated fighters where anything can happen and they're probably going to throw hands. Anders is a guy who likes to finish his opponent, so it means he's going to take a few risks. He could get caught. Short notice opponents are always dangerous because you don't have a whole lot of time to study tape. So it's a little too wide. It's another fight I'm gonna stay away from. But I'm on a lean with Perez here because I like that line.
Yeah. You think you're gonna stay away from this one? It's not you don't like Perez enough to take him at plus 240?
Not enough. I mean, it's a good line. I just don't like him enough. I think Anders is a great talent, but we just haven't seen the best of him yet. But this line is wide, so I'll stay away from it.
Okay, and then the next fight is another fight with a very competitive line. It's Albert Moraes against Benito Lopez, two bantamweights who are pretty exciting right now, looking to move up the divisional ladder in the bantamweight division. And I'm thinking that maybe we like Lopez here. Moraes has actually struggled a little bit recently, and Lopez is looking pretty impressive to me. And he's undefeated, of course. And I'm not sure that Moraes is going to test him significantly more than he's been tested already in his career. And the line is just minus 110 on both sides. I'm thinking maybe a shot with Lopez at minus 110, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we see a finish. Not sure I'd want to take Lopez inside the distance, but the line on that one is plus 332. So I was thinking about that one and thinking about maybe giving Lopez the edge here at minus 110. What do you think about that one, Andreas Hale?
Yeah, I like Lopez here. I mean, everything that you kind of pointed out. I mean, you look at what Moraes has done lately. He hasn't been too impressive. I mean, he won a split decision in a fight before last. He's 1-2-1 in his last 4 fights, which means he's kind of backsliding since arriving in the UFC with high hopes. So you look at the undefeated fighter here and you say, well, I'm going to take a shot with Lopez. Minus 110 is some value there. People, he's a relative unknown. I mean, the guy doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, for Christ's sake. So you look at Lopez, but if you know MMA, if you've seen this guy, he's pretty talented. So yeah. I like him at the minus 110. I'm going to stay away from him finishing him. I think he's going to kind of take his time here, but it'll be interesting. But I definitely am going to go with Lopez here at a minus 110.
Yeah, I mean, when you see a line like this where one of the fighters has clearly been losing recently and the other fighter is undefeated, your first question is this then a big step up in class for the undefeated fighter? And I'm not totally seeing that. Would you say that's the case or not?
No, I'm not seeing it either. Like I said, Moraes hasn't looked impressive since coming to the UFC. Was it 2016? So he hasn't looked all that great. So it's not like a huge step in the competition against a guy who's been beating everybody. Yeah. He's lost 2 of his last 3 fights. So that being said, you look at John's an undefeated fighter who's got something to prove and wants to impress. Hey, I'm going to take him at minus 110. I'll take a shot with that. At least he doesn't know how to lose yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. I will definitely make that one an official play. Lopez at minus 110, currently the line at 5 dimes. That's official for me. Is that official for you, Andreas, or just a lean?
That is official. That is official for me as well.
All right, sounds good. So let's go over the entire card here to recap our official picks. Andreas Hale and I are both on Benito Lopez at minus 110. Andreas Hale also taking a Cub Swanson as an official pick, currently at plus 100. I'm so tempted to take the over at 2.5 at minus 230, but I've been burned doing that before, and I think you're right. I guess I will pass on that one. Just a little bit too much of a favorite line there. And then Benitez against Knight. I'm tempted to take the fight not going the distance at minus 115. You think that's a little trappy, or you think this is just similar to the Gaethje fight that we saw recently, where there's one guy is a big pressure fighter and he's either going to get us finished or get finished?
Yeah, that's what I think. One of these guys is going to get finished. I don't expect Jason Knight, despite losing his last fight, to take his foot off the gas. So I think 3 rounds, 15 minutes, somebody's probably going to go to sleep or get submitted. All
right, I'll make that one official. Fight not going the distance at minus 115 is the current line at 5 dimes. That's an official pick for me, and that fight's a pass for you, Andreas?
That is a pass for me.
Okay, then I'm definitely on Sterling, plus 120. That's an official pick. And Andreas Hale likes Sterling by decision at plus 204. And then Holtzman, Horcher, I guess that's going to be a pass for you, Andreas Hale?
Yeah, I'm passing on that one.
Okay, and then the Perez-Anders fight, Andreas Hale and I both thinking that Perez getting a little bit disrespected here at plus 240, but don't feel strongly enough about that one to make it an official pick, either of us. Right, Andreas?
That is correct.
Okay, and that's it. That wraps up our coverage of the main card of UFC Fight Night 123. Andreas Hale, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.